Inside an office in the city, a lot of individuals are oblivious, while canvassed in monster bug covers. Unexpectedly a tremendous bug stinger shows up furthermore, punctures one of the workers. This began couple of days prior. Cooper is behind schedule for work yet he still contends with his father on the telephone. His dad's fed up with Cooper continuously being in a tough situation and calls him a shame for the family name. As Cooper attempts to persuade him he isn't a failure, he nearly gets hit by a vehicle, yet he evades it just in time. Subsequently Cooper comes to the workplace what's more, rapidly arrives at his work area, to imagine he's been working for some time. Anyway, the supervisor Morin calls him to his office, to play a few accounts that demonstrate Cooper has been acting improperly with the clients, so she fires him. At that point stunning sound rings through the structure and each individual in it drops. A couple of days after the fact, the workplace is canvassed in bug cases. These were shaped by monster bugs, which presently meander around the workplace to sting their detainees. At the point when Cooper awakens, he quickly breaks the case and liberates himself, just to hurl some bizarre goo. At that point a monster insect assaults him, so an overreacting copper puts forth a valiant effort to retaliate, until he drives it away. In the wake of pausing for a minute to quiet down, Cooper sees Morin in a case and races to help her. At the point when she awakens, she feels debilitated as well. Both she and Cooper heard the commotion and dropping, however they have no clue about what occurred next. Morin likewise recalls that she was assumed to meet with her little girl, so she and Cooper run outside to mind others. The circumstance on the roads is something very similar. Each individual is trapped in enormous cases. They track down Morin's little girl Sarah in a case inside her vehicle, so Cooper volunteers to help. He rapidly breaks the cover. However, when Sarah awakens, she misjudges what is happening and showers gas at Cooper's eyes. Unexpectedly an immense wasp flies in and snatches Morin to then take off with her. Sarah shouts for her mom, however she can't arrive at up to help her. While Cooper actually feels his eyes consuming, he consents to leave with Sarah, as it were for Goliath bugs to begin showing up surrounding them. As she moves away, Sarah unintentionally pushes over trash bin and understands that the large bugs respond to commotions, so she enacts the alert on her vehicle. The animals promptly race to the vehicle and the couple can escape securely. Minutes after the fact they enter a bistro, which is likewise loaded with cased individuals. Sarah needs to assist them with, however Coopering is against it, calling attention to they might respond brutally also. That making sense of things so often will get tiring. Out of nowhere a man called Hugo snatches Sarah by the neck and Cooper attempts to come to her protection, just to get punched simultaneously. Then another enormous bug shows up and assaults Cooper, so Hugo lets go of Sarah and promptly kills the animal. While the folks are diverted, Sarah utilizes the opportunity to liberate 6 individuals from the cases, counting a cop. The gathering consents to cooperate and examines how to continue. Roger says they ought to leave on his truck, yet Sarah brings up the commotion would draw in the bugs. Declining to stand by listening to her, Roger and PJ leave then any case, bunch behind and get in the truck. Just like Sarah anticipated, the motor clamor draws in Goliath scarabs that quickly crush the truck. Leaps out yet as he attempts to get away from, he breaks his leg, and another truck that let completely go closures up running over him. Roger stays behind the wheel, so the scarabs arrive at through the window to catch him and divert him. In the interim the rest of the gathering are battling the bugs as well. In the battle, the cop is killed, and Hugo's dad Albert gets stung toward the back, which makes an unusual imprint on his skin. The excess survivors stow away in the closest structure and choose to go to the rooftop to evaluate what is happening. They see a secretive red smoke somewhere far off and a gigantic crowd of wasps taking off from it. The gathering talks about what to do, so Cooper proposes going to his father's home, since he's a previous trooper who has a fortification with provisions. Anyway, it would be a long outing and they don't know how to come to the house securely. At that point a lot of bugs fly by, so Lychee waves her arms, but the bugs try not to respond and take off. This affirms they are visually impaired and utilize sound to find their casualties. The bunch concurs they need to get more familiar with them prior to going with a choice, so they put a radio inside a wardrobe to bait a creepy crawly into it, rapidly catching it inside. Lychee is a researcher, what's more, needs to drain the insect like a snake to study its toxin, which disturbs the others, yet they in any case consent to help. They open the storeroom and collaborate to hold the creepy crawly down, luckily figuring out how to get an example of the toxin without anybody getting injured. While Lee studies the fluid, the others share their encounters. They all have a similar story. They heard the commotion, dropped, and later awakened to track down the casings. In the end, Lychee presumes that the bug's toxicants are calming. She likewise finds a red gas like the one they saw before. She can tell the bugs discharge it, yet she can't determine what it is. In the end, the gathering consents to remain in the structure for the evening and leave for Cooper's father's place in the first part of the day, while halting at each group part's home on the way. Minutes after the fact, Cooper can't rest, since he's certainly met Sarah previously in any case. He can't recall where. He goes searching for something to eat, yet when he snatches a container, ordinary bugs start slithering out of it. Cooper gets terrified in any case and quickly drops the crate, just to get frightened again by Cindy. She makes sense of she works on television and needs to leave with him to the studio to attempt to call somebody for help. Cooper likes the thought and says they can return for the others in the first part of the day, yet Cindy says she just needs to leave with him. Creeped out, Cooper drops the plan. The following morning, the gathering awakens when they hear a noisy clamor coming from the wardrobe. It appears to be the insect is attempting to get away and is shrieking to call its mates for help, so Albert simply breaks into the storeroom and rapidly kills it. The gathering concurs now is the ideal time to leave, yet Lychee chooses to remain behind and wake up as many individuals as conceivable on the grounds that they could help battle the animals. The group leaves, and keeping in mind that they walk, Cooper attempts to converse with Sarah, yet he acts like Screwball and Sarah call him youthful. These finishes up with both utilizing mockery to affront one another. Minutes after the fact, they show up at Albert and Hugo's house and Cooper go inside with them to look for Hugo's mother. While pausing, Sarah is stunned to find a note with Cooper's telephone number in her pocket. Inside, the threesome is upset to find the mother dead. An enraged Albert tries to get a firearm prior to rejoining the others. Cooper attempts to bring up that the commotion of discharging a weapon will draw in additional adversaries, yet Albert disregards him. The gathering continues onward and comes to Cindy's siblings' home. There are a few groups in covers in the yard, dubiously coordinated and alien. At that point, Cindy's sibling emerges from the carport conveying another cover and uncovering his change. He's turned into a half bug freak. At the point when he sees the gathering, he quickly assaults also wounds Cooper in the disorder. Cindy attempts to associate with him. However, the person isn't human any longer, furthermore, can't grasp her. He has a similar outlook as a monster, furthermore, promptly gets her, so Hugo needs to save her. Cindy asks the gathering not to kill her sibling. In any case, it's unmistakable the person can't be saved, so Hugo and Albert wound him to death with forks. The gathering races to Cindy's home to go through the evening, and Hugo and Albert lock every one of the windows and entryways. While Sarah treats Cooper's injury, he says in the event that he at any point turns, she ought to run as opposed to hitting him. He additionally concedes that he generally longed for what he would do during the end times. He needed to live in the forest with a young lady like Sarah and repopulate the planet. The pair visits for some time and starts holding, particularly when Cooper shares that heaps have late lost his mom as well. In the interim, Albert is investigating the house and begins to feel unwell. At the point when he catches Sarah, he doesn't tell her about his agony, however he requests that she deal with his child like she deals with Cooper. Later that night, Cooper abruptly is stirred by Cindy, who's lamenting for her sibling. Requiring some solace, she removes her garments and requests that Cooper take care of her, coming really close. Anyway, Cooper tenderly drives her away and turns her down. Hurt, Cindy leaves the room in huff. The following day, the group continues to travel, and they notice the once more baffling smoke somewhere out there. Sarah imagines that it's coming from the bug's home and needs to go there to track down her mother. However, Cooper alters her perspective by bringing up the opportunity of achievement is amazingly low. At that point, a pack of bugs fly above them, so the gathering keeps quiet to slip by everyone's notice. Feeling apprehensive, Cooper wants more. Sarah clasp hands. Cindy sees this, and the desire makes her snap, so she begins shouting to stand out enough to be noticed. The others attempt to make her stop, however she will not yield to common sense, so Albert kills her with a shot. The bugs soon assault and Albert kill a lot of them in fast progression. One of the beasts actually make do. Eventually, just Cooper, Albert, and Hugo are left. The threesome strolls for some time, and in the long run they come to the place of Cooper's dad. Ethan is in the nursery requiring his canine, who has been absent for a while. Cooper asks him not to make clearly commotions. Be that as it may, Ethan will not tune in. At night, Ethan assembles the visitors and they examine them choices. Unexpectedly Albert loses a tooth and previously everybody can respond. He starts changing into a butt freak and goes after Cooper. A battle results furthermore, as Cooper attempts to keep Albert occupied. Hugo must choose the option to shoot his own dad. Hugo then has a breakdown while making sense of that this is the very thing that his dad had asked him to. Sadly, the discharge draws in additional beasts. Ethan kills one of them before the three people rush to conceal in the room, just to chance upon Ethan's canine on the way. It turns out the canine has changed also, yet Ethan tosses her number one toy and effectively diverts her. At that point a swarm of enormous creepy crawlers assault, so the threesome runs until they come to the dugout. Presently they are protected. They fall asleep for the evening. A flashback starts showing that the individual who nearly hit Cooper with the vehicle had been Sarah. They squabbled over whose issue it was, and Cooper gave her his number in the event that he harmed her vehicle, which was a reason to ask her out. In the present, Cooper awakens in shock as he understands why he knew her face. During breakfast, Ethan says there are no administration messages on the radio, and that implies they